Before we continue, if you believe kindness can change someone's life, and that people deserve second chances, please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear a story about unexpected love, and subscribe to the channel. It means more than you know, and it helps us keep bringing you stories that remind us there is still goodness in the world. My name is Nathan, and 3 years earlier, Rebecca had broken my heart in a way I never thought I would recover from. We had been together for 4 years, and I believed we were building a life together in Sacramento. But one night, she told me she had met someone else. There was no dramatic argument, no betrayal I could point to, just a quiet confession that she no longer felt the same way. I packed my things and moved to Oregon for work, because staying in the same city felt like standing inside a burning house and pretending I couldn't smell the smoke. I eventually rebuilt my life, but I never forgot how small heartbreak could make a person feel. Now, I was back in California for Rebecca's younger brother Michael's wedding. I hadn't planned on attending until my old friend Thomas called and reminded me that Michael had always treated me like family. So I came, dressed in a dark suit, determined to stay for the ceremony, offer my congratulations, and leave before the memories became too heavy. Then I saw Rebecca. She looked happy. Truly happy. And strangely, that hurt less than I expected. Maybe because I had finally accepted that her happiness did not have to be connected to mine. That was when Claire appeared beside me. I had known her for years, but mostly from family gatherings, where she was the quiet cousin with the sharp sense of humor. She was wearing a deep red dress, and looked nervous despite the confident way she carried herself. She told me her ex-boyfriend, Andrew, had arrived with someone new, and had spent the entire evening making sure she noticed. Her family kept asking why she was still single, and Andrew kept watching her from across the patio. She said she was tired of being treated like the woman everyone felt sorry for. Then she looked directly into my eyes, and asked me to pretend to be her date until the reception ended. I should have said no. Instead, I remembered the tears she was trying not to show and agreed. We walked into the reception together, and almost immediately the whispers began. Rebecca looked at us, then looked away. Andrew's smile disappeared. Claire slipped her hand around my arm, and for the first time that night, she looked relaxed. We danced, laughed, and talked about things we had never discussed before. She told me about the nursing home where she worked, and how she secretly bought groceries for an elderly patient whose pension barely covered his rent. I told her about Oregon, my work, and the loneliness I had never admitted to anyone. As the night grew colder, we stepped outside toward the vineyard. The moonlight covered the rows of grapevines, and music drifted faintly from the reception hall. Claire suddenly stopped walking. She looked at me with an expression I couldn't understand, and said something that changed everything. She told me the fake date was supposed to last one night, but somewhere between the first dance and the walk through the vineyard, she had stopped pretending. She admitted that she had noticed me years ago, long before Rebecca and I broke up. She had watched how gently I treated people, how I always helped her grandmother carry groceries, how I stayed late at family gatherings to clean up even when nobody asked. She said she had always admired the man I was, but she had respected Rebecca too much to ever interfere. I was stunned. I told her I didn't know what to say because she was Rebecca's cousin. Claire lowered her eyes and admitted that was exactly why she had spent years convincing herself that what she felt wasn't real. She wasn't trying to steal anyone's past from me. She simply wanted one evening where she could stop pretending her heart was empty. Then Rebecca found us. For a moment none of us spoke. Rebecca looked at Claire, then at me, and I expected anger. Instead, she quietly asked Claire if she was happy. Claire nodded. Rebecca smiled sadly, and said she had spent years believing she was the only person who could ever understand me. But maybe she had been wrong. Then, she turned to me and apologized. She said she had been too young to understand what she was throwing away, and seeing me again had made her realize she had once hurt someone who genuinely loved her. I thought that would be the ending, but it wasn't. Weeks passed after the wedding. Claire and I stayed in touch, carefully at first. We talked every night. We learned each other's fears, habits, dreams, and flaws. There were awkward moments, especially when family members questioned whether we were making a mistake, but something unexpected happened. The relationship that began as an act became the most honest thing either of us had ever experienced. 6 months later, I drove back to California and found Claire waiting for me outside the same vineyard where everything had started. She was holding a small photograph from the wedding. In it, we were standing together, smiling like two people who had forgotten they were pretending. She looked at the picture, then at me, and said that night had taught her something she would never forget. Sometimes the person who enters your life as a temporary solution becomes the person who makes you understand why everything before them had to end. Then, she took my hand and called me the man I love. I had spent years thinking heartbreak meant losing the person you loved. But Claire taught me that sometimes heartbreak is simply life making room for the person who will love you differently, patiently, and completely. I didn't get Rebecca back. I didn't need to. I found something better, not because Claire was my ex's cousin, not because our story began with a lie, but because somewhere between pretending and being honest, two wounded people found the courage to choose each other. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe. Your support helps these stories reach people who may be quietly going through their own heartbreak and need to remember that their story isn't over. And before the ending, I want you to comment one simple sentence. I believe second chances are real. Maybe someone reading your comment today needs those exact words. Because sometimes love doesn't arrive when you're ready. Sometimes it arrives disguised as a fake date, standing beneath the lights of a California vineyard, holding your hand and reminding you that the heart can heal in ways you never imagined. And sometimes, after believing you have lost the love of your life, you discover that you are only being led toward the person who would become the love of your forever. Hey.